Their horses are swifter than leopards, fiercer than wolves at dusk. Their cavalry gallops headlong. Their horsemen come from afar. They fly like a vulture swooping to devour. They all come bent on violence. Their hordes advance like a desert wind and gather prisoners like sand. They deride kings and scoff at rulers. They laugh at all fortified cities. They build earthen ramps and they capture these fortified cities. Then they sweep past like a wind and go on. Guilty men whose own strength is their God. Do the Babylonians know that God is using them? No. Absolutely not. They just doing what they do best, which is killing people. Habakkuk speaks again. O Lord, are you not from everlasting? My God, my Holy One, we will not die. O Lord, you have appointed them to execute judgment. O Rock, you have ordained them to punish. Your eyes are too pure to look on evil. This is Habakkuk being confused. He's like, God, these are wicked people, and you've appointed them to judge us, but you're too holy to look on evil like that. I don't get it. That's Habakkuk. That's his message. Your eyes are too pure to look on evil. You cannot tolerate wrong. Why then do you tolerate the treacherous? Why are you silent while the wicked swallow up those more righteous than themselves? You have made men like fish in the sea, like sea creatures that have no ruler. Do you hear Habakkuk's faith, how shaky it is? He's like saying, is anybody really in charge? The wicked foe pulls all of them up with hooks. He catches them in his net. He gathers them up in his dragnet, and so he rejoices and is glad. Therefore he sacrifices to his net and burns incense to the dragnet, etc., etc. Then the Lord, in verse 2 of chapter 2, the Lord's answer. Write down the revelation and make it plain on tablets so that a herald may run with it, for the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. God says that it is coming. Habakkuk, you don't get it yet, but it's coming. This dialogue, this exchange keeps going through the book. You have enough curiosity yet to want to read this book? I think some of you are getting curious about it. In chapter 2, the bulk of chapter 2 is a comfort to Habakkuk, or as if to comfort him. God then discloses the ultimate judgment. He would also bring on Babylon. God is going to judge Babylon, and that's what he says here. The bottom line, shall not the judge of all the earth do right? He will do right. Then the book closes with a hymn of praise. Notice chapter 3, the prayer of Habakkuk the prophet on Shigionoth. What does that mean? Nobody knows. There's people have taken some guesses. What did you discover when you looked it up? It's probably right there in your book. Some people think it's a musical term. It could be an instrument. We just don't know. But the important thing is not what Shigionoth means, but what comes after it. Because this is a hymn that Habakkuk writes, and he says, Lord, I have heard of your fame. I stand in awe of your deeds. Renew them in our day, in our time, make them known. In wrath, remember mercy. In wrath, remember mercy. What is Habakkuk saying? He's almost releasing all of his emotions, isn't he? He's saying, you're God. You're God. Lord, I know you're going to judge. My prayer is that in your wrath, remember mercy. And then he sums up this prayer with these famous verses in the end. Verse 17, though the fig tree does not bud, and there are no grapes on the vines, though the olive crop fails and the fields produce no food, though there are no sheep in the pen and no cattle in the stalls. What's he saying? He's saying, I know that Babylon's coming, and I know they're going to judge us, and they're going to take everything away that we have, and I may not even live to see the end of it. Yet, I will rejoice in the Lord. I will be joyful in God my Savior. The sovereign Lord is my strength. He makes my feet like the feet of deer. The King James is so beautiful here. He makes my feet like hinds' feet. He enables me to go on the heights. And then he closes by saying, this is for the director of music on stringed instruments. He was a brilliant man, and he was a musician. He was a very emotionally wired man, and he was also a philosopher. You learn a lot about the man as you read his book. It encourages me that men like this had trouble coming to terms with what God was doing. Does that encourage you? Yes. Because there are times that we simply we aren't able to come to terms with what God is doing. Brothers and sisters, let me encourage you right before we take a break, and we are going to take one right now. Let me encourage you, the message of this book, don't take a shallow attitude toward God. Resist that. There are people all around you and me, my culture too, who will tell us that God blesses us with stuff and He blesses us with ease if we'll walk in His ways. It doesn't happen that way always, does it? It may happen that way, but it may not. And God is telling Habakkuk that it's not going to happen that way for him. He lives in a nation that's about to be invaded. How would you feel if God sent somebody to you and said, Bahamas is going to be taken over by another country and you're going to be oppressed? Some of you are going to die as this country comes in. They're going to land boats on every island. They are going to march in. They are not going to have respect for women, man, or child. Some of you will not live to see the end of this. How would you feel? You'd say, Lord, we're a righteous people. Look at all the churches around here. How can that be? What? I shouldn't hear that, Rose. I'm sorry.
I'm saying if that happens, you will not say it's the Lord, it's the devil.
Well, you might say that. But I'm saying, what if this same message were preached here, and what if it was really true? How would you feel? That's what I want you to do. I want you to enter into Habakkuk's feelings right now. Okay? Sometimes life collides with our expectations, doesn't it? I would really like it if God just made my life easy all the time. He doesn't do that. But you know what? When you look back on the hard times and the easy times, when have you grown the most? Hard times. There's something about us as sinful people. We need those hard times. We need those times to invoke in us a seriousness and a sobriety toward God. And come to the point, when your life gets hard, and this is my final comment, I promise you. When your life gets hard, come to the point where you can release your emotions the way Habakkuk did. Lord, no matter what you do, I will worship you. What did Job say? Though he slay me, yet will I trust him. That's where we need to be. Let God grow you in your understanding and in your love and in your adoration and your awe of Him by responding properly to adversity.
I found myself praying a similar prayer today, saying to God, it seems as if He is just putting us through test trials, through a lot of sicknesses. Like when we get over one, it's another, someone else. And I say, God, whatever you are putting me through, I know this is a test for you to make me stronger. But in whatever situation, just,
That is the right attitude. God causes us, our roots, to go deep during the hard times.
And it keeps you in the Word. I guess you wonder
Amen.
why. I mean, it's like,
Yes.
I read that.
Absolutely. You need a word from God at times like that. Yes.